I got this. It's 1940s World War II GMC 6x. You know, GMC made the 6x6 trucks, and Chevy made the four-wheel drive, like that one, and that one. But some of the parts between the two will interchange, such as rims, brake drums, axles, steering box, column, wheel. That's the one big thing I really need. Somebody figured out if you put two rims back to back and bolt them together, you know, onto the drum or weld them or whatever they did, you could fit these aircraft tires on the stock truck rims. And that was pretty much the creation of the first swamp buggy, so to speak. They would provide a big lift and bigger mass tire than the skinny military ones. And usually they put chains over these too. This one doesn't have that, obviously, but yeah, these big tires would actually help them float across the tundra and wet areas and whatnot, and they did really well. So it's cool to have some of those tires now, because they're pretty hard to find these days. And this one holds air. The other three are not the best. They'd need new inner tubes, but the tires themselves are probably still fine, which is good. And the cool part was I even used the 41 to unload this frame off of the trailer, so that was pretty cool. Got to try out the boom with something heavy. 1.5 ton four-wheel drive G506 series, and they were all involved in the Alaska Highway project, and they were mostly used as dump trucks. And after the Army was done with the road project and everything after the war, the Alaska Road Commission got all of the equipment, trucks, stuff like that, and they kept the road maintained. So after the Road Commission was done with them, you know, civilians and regular everyday people would buy up these kind of trucks, whether they were Chevys, GMCs, Studebakers. They would customize them, modify them, do whatever they wanted, and turn them into something useful that they needed. You know, there weren't any ATVs, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, nothing like that back in the day, so this was the best thing you could get to conquer the wilderness and gold mine or do whatever you had to do, and they'd build whatever to make it even more versatile for them. So, you know, even though these trucks were punched out in mass quantities and at a fast rate for World War II, you know, they were good enough quality to still be working after 70 plus years and still running and everything. So, you know, they put out a good product, and yeah, it's cool to have some of that stuff and a lot of that history. So with this one here, I can take the parts out of it and revive the 42 over there, the one with the oversized sign on it. So in this video, I'll kind of go over my plans and maybe start to get going on this project. So this is a 1942 Chevrolet G506, where the black one's a 41 and Girl Wanted here is a 44. This one's later style, obviously, has some different features and whatnot that I can point out in another video. But anyways, I found this one. It was out in the woods behind a DOT facility, a couple hours from here. And it was, you know, as you can see, it's really stripped clean of pretty much anything and everything. Pretty much just a shell now. So, hauled it home in October of 2017. and the only thing I've done to it is take the radiator out, pull the motor, and tear the motor all apart on a stand in the shop. Later finding out that the 235 was about to throw a rod out the side of the block, so that's why they shut it down. And that's all that I've done to it. I've just stored it, taken a little more care of it than what it had been before for the past, I don't know, I'm thinking this truck's been sitting at least 40 years, probably longer. It's been down for a long time, so this is going to be the ultimate revival story here. But anyways, now that I have a donor truck, well, it's not really a truck anymore, just the chassis and running gear, I now have the steering box, which I couldn't find anywhere. So I have that. The front axle out of the GMC chassis is going to go under here, along with the leaf spring stack. I measured them. They're the same length, same width, and same stack as the Chevys. So that's a really cool thing. And just get rid of this axle because it's completely disassembled on this side, and it would need new seals and bearings probably, so just put a working one under here instead. And as I went over in the other video on the 41, I got the spare motor and wheels with that deal. So here's the wheels to go on this one, and a spare motor. This one here came out of the 42, the one that was gonna throw the rod. This one is a spare one, and for as clean and everything as it is, I want to say it's been rebuilt, but I gotta open it up and see. It doesn't turn over, so it's probably had some moisture down it. Would probably free up pretty easy. I'm pretty confident for it. So that part of it is already solved. So take the rear drums off of the GMC, put them on this rear axle, and get wheels on the back, and then hoist the front of this up with the 41 probably, and get the axle out, put the leaf springs on the other side, and roll that axle underneath. Then the front will be on wheels, and then this thing will be on all four wheels, and I'll be able to move it around. And then put the steering box in while the motor is out, because that'll make life a lot easier. Get that done. And then transfer case out of the GMC can go in here. That motor can get dropped in. Transmission. And yeah, I think I got pretty much everything I need now. So yeah, back in 2017 when I hauled this thing home, my knowledge about these trucks was very limited. I didn't know a lot about them, but since then I've got 2 more of them, along with all kinds of parts. I have all kinds of books about these trucks. I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of internet research. I'm involved in clubs and groups and forums and stuff like that. I've tracked down several of these trucks in Alaska, mostly still being used and not for sale or on public display. The cool thing about this one is, you know, like I said before, the Army had these trucks first, obviously, and they built the highway and everything. And then Road Commission took over after. Well, when Road Commission got all the military equipment, they, you know, ground off the military numbers and designation stuff, and they painted everything in their fleet orange. So whenever you see old orange paint on anything old in Alaska, that generally means it was owned by the Territorial Road Commission, and that would have been original equipment for maintaining the road systems in Alaska. Now in 1950, 58, 59, I can't remember, when Alaska became a state, the road commission was replaced by Department of Transportation, because it was a U.S. state by then. So by then the DOT would have been receiving, 1960s technology stuff, so this stuff would have been, put aside, kind of petered out, used until it wore out, kind of like this one. So, this one was used hard by the military and then by the road commission, and then kind of parted out for the remaining ones, and yeah, just got left behind. As you can see, they worked it really hard. They bent the overload springs, and that's quite a stack there. So yeah, it's cool that the patina of both the military and road commission is on this one. I really like that. You can see that's more so the original color of the orange, and the orange is coming off and showing the olive drab. And then like on the black 41, it's rare that it still has decent fenders, because this is what normally happens to old truck fenders. They get bent up, bent into the tire, and when that happens, they just torch them off, or they tear them off on trees or whatever. So that's what happened to this one. It's got a partial fender, and then nothing at all on this side, but gives it character. It's unique. When I hauled it home in 2017, I was kind of bummed out that it was missing so much, because I really wanted to get the thing together. So it's really exciting that I can do that now.